Okay, let's try this again. I don't know why I'm having so many difficulties. Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. Much better. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh gosh, what was going on? Sounds clear. Thank you guys. Oh my gosh, thanks for bearing with me. All right, it's fine now. Good. Hello everyone, good evening. Goodness, I don't know why we had so many difficulties, but we're gonna make this work. Everything's good, right guys? It's good? All right. Good evening. I'm gonna give everyone just a couple more minutes to hop on. Thank you for your patience. I do appreciate it. So I just want also to let you all know, if you do have questions, there's a little question box, little icon down here that you can ask your questions through. So feel free to engage in the middle of our live. If you have any questions, let me know. And I want it to be interactive. This is actually my first time doing a live where it's just me. So this is different. Usually I'm with someone. So I wanted to feel like I'm with you guys, so definitely make sure that you interact. And you all can still hear me, right? Let me know. All right, so we're gonna get started. Just a couple more minutes, let folks hop on. All right, I got a thumbs up, so I'm assuming that you all can hear me. Thank you. All right, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I know we're already 30 minutes behind, so thanks for your patience. My name is Chantel Grant, and I am originally from the Washington, D.C. area. Super excited about this opportunity to come on and take over DC Now events live and tell you all a little bit more about franchising. As I mentioned before, if you do have questions, please use that question box at the bottom. Throughout the live, let's interact. I want to, be a resource to you all. So any questions that you have, nothing's off limits. Just let me know, what questions you have. So I'll start off first by just telling you a little bit more about me and my business partners, and then I'll jump into giving you all some tips and tricks just around getting started in franchising, where to start, how to fund your deal, and then also the most important thing I think is, how to pick the right brand. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, my name is Chantel Grant, and I am originally from Washington, D.C. I went to school at Old Dominion University, and after college, jumped right into corporate America, a typical 9-to-5, and it was kind of one day I looked up and I'm like, I want more than this. I want to be able to kind of control the amount of money that I make. I wanted to be able to create generational wealth and different things of that nature. And so it really started getting me thinking about what else can I do outside of this corporate 9-to-5 job. And, my sister and my mom, those are my business partners. They were feeling the same way. I just want more, And so we started to talk about what could we do? What's a problem we could solve? What kind of business can we start? And just throwing different ideas out there. We entertained the idea of starting our own business. Again, as I mentioned, though, we were all working really busy, demanding full-time corporate jobs. And so it was difficult to fathom the ability to have the time that it would take to start an independent business. And so we landed on franchising because it gives you that blueprint for business. It gives you a model that essentially, if you follow that model and you pick the right brand and you pick the right location, you will make money, you will be successful. And so that was the reason, originally why we just landed on franchising. It was going to be, I shouldn't say easier because it's definitely still a challenge, but it is easier than starting your own brand where you have to come up with all of these different processes and, different things like that. So we landed on franchising and we saw a need within our community. We live in Prince George's County and there just lacked healthy food options, healthy lifestyle options. And so that's kind of where we started. We said, let's bring a franchise business that focuses on healthy living to the Prince George's County area. And from there, we just began to research different brands that aligned with our values, and we came upon Tropical Smoothie. So currently, we own 3 tropical smoothies in Prince George's County, with 2 additional tropical smoothies in development, as well as 1 Hand and Stone massage and facial. And we are also franchisees with Choice Hotels. So we jumped right into franchising, fell in love, and we've been growing ever since. That was 5 years ago. So any questions, you guys, like as I mentioned, go ahead and drop them in. Let's be interactive. So yeah, we joined in franchising 5 years ago, and since then we've just been growing. And today I'm going to tell you all a little bit more just about like where to get started. As I mentioned in the beginning of the live, that's the number one question I get is, franchising is a very big topic to try to, break down. And so a lot of folks just have the questions of like, how do you finance it? Where do I get started? Different things like that. So I am going to go over all of that today. Additionally, we did create a online course called So You Want to Buy a Franchise, which really takes you through step-by-step where to start, from start to finish. How do you get from an idea basically to grand opening? And so I'll share more information about our course later in the live. But let's just jump right into my first topic, which is where to start. And as I mentioned earlier, the best place to start for anyone, and this is the advice that I give to folks, is that you do have to figure out if franchising is right for you. So, if you are thinking of starting a concept that is novel and it doesn't exist out there, then definitely starting your own business or your own concept would be great. But if you are looking for, as we were looking for, something where you can ramp a little bit faster, you have that support, you have a system and a model that you can follow, then franchising definitely is going to be a great option for you. Specifically for us, as I mentioned earlier, we were all working full-time jobs, and the idea of having to start our own concept just wasn't feasible for us at that time. I got a question. I like this. What are the pros and cons? I'm going to stop and answer this. What are the pros and cons of franchising? So I'm actually kind of answering that as I was talking about where to start, but some of the pros of franchising is that model. You can typically ramp a little bit faster because you do have a proven model. That training, the support that you get from the brand is very big. And then I think just like the biggest thing is the proven model. The biggest con with franchising is if you are not looking to follow a model. So if you are, wanting to get super creative and, different things like that, then a franchise is not going to be for you because they literally tell you what colors the walls can be in your business. So it is definitely it's a model that you have to be able to follow. So I would say the only con that I've seen is that you have to follow the model. So if that's not something that you're interested in, then of course that is not going to be a good option for you. Yep. All right. So where to get started? Again, you got to figure out if it's right for you. And that's the number one thing. Once you've figured out whether franchising is right for you or not, the biggest thing that you need to do is pick the right brand. And so as I mentioned in our journey, what we did to start to select the right brand was figured out what was important to us. In our case, it was healthy living, healthy lifestyles. And so we just started to research brands that had those options. We came across Tropical Smoothie, different healthy food brands, and then just kind of did our investigation from there. We looked at, what were their revenues? How many units did they have throughout the United States? What was that support like? Different things like that were important to us. And the main way that you do your research on these brands is reaching out to them. And I always suggest this because maybe you are thinking about starting or getting into franchising, but maybe you're not there. I always suggest reaching out even earlier than you are maybe prepared. Because it just arms you with all of that information that you'll need to get better prepared. So that's essentially where we started, was thought about what was important to us. We knew that it was a healthy lifestyle brand, and so we just started reaching out to all the different brands that made any interest to us. And a lot of times, some of these brands kind of, eliminate themselves, because some of them didn't get back, different things like that. So, I would always say that that's kind of one of the first places to start would be, make a list of all the brands that you're potentially interested in. Maybe do some research on your own before you even reach out to them, because you may be able to, cross them off your list based off of some of the information, that you're able to find just on the internet. And then from there, I would always, reach out via email, get a call set up with the brands just so that you can learn more. Make sure that they align with your values. I would think of this as like a marriage when you pick a brand. So you want to really make sure that your values are married and aligned, and that you're choosing the right brand, because you're making a huge investment. So you just want to make sure that it's aligned. We have another question. I knew this was going to come. What's the typical initial investment? I'm definitely going to get to this when I talk about financing. So I'm going to hold this question until then. Okay. So you want to make a list, make sure that their values are aligned, start investigating these brands. As I mentioned, it is a marriage. You're spending a lot of money with this brand. The contracts typically are like 10 years. So you just want to think long and hard about this process. I would say that this, picking the right brand and picking the right location are going to be your two biggest decisions that you need to make, and probably your most important decisions as well. From there, let me see, I am actually pulling up some things that you want to think about when you're, thinking about selecting the right brand. One is, what level of investment are you willing to make? There are franchise fees that range from like $5,000 to $100,000. So you need to figure out, what is your investment? What's your budget? What are you looking to spend to do this business? How much time are you looking to invest in your business? What locations are you looking for, and are they even available? Because that's a huge thing. Even when we were looking for a massage brand, we looked initially at Massage Envy, but they were sold out in the Maryland territory. So that automatically eliminated that brand. So, kind of thinking of those things will help you narrow down your short list. And then once you have like 3 or 4 brands, I say go ahead and start reaching out to them, as I mentioned, so that you can get to know the brand, ask questions, different things like that. So a question that just popped up was, what is the initial investment? And that is the number one thing that everyone wants to know. And the answer actually is that it varies. So for Tropical Smoothie, I believe that their franchise fee is $30,000. And then a complete build out is anywhere from $300,000 and, anywhere from $300,000 to $310,000. So that's what you're kind of looking at as far as total investment. And that $300,000 number is build out, it's equipment, it includes, real estate deposits, different things of that nature. So that's your all-in costs, but it's just going to vary on what brand you choose. How involved is it? Is it a small concept? Is it a bigger concept? So that's also what kind of goes into your research of, picking the right brand is, what type of investment level are you looking to make? How much can you invest in this? And that's going to probably be one of the most important things. So let's see if you guys have any questions, there's a question box at the bottom. Feel free to ask. As I mentioned earlier, there are no questions that are off limits. I am an open book. I will share anything. And then just to reintroduce myself for anyone that is just joining, my name is Chantel Grant, and we are talking about franchising this evening. So any questions you have, let me know. So I just mentioned the initial, is it surprising the numbers tell you exactly what level? Yep, exactly. Someone just commented that the numbers tell you exactly what level you can invest in. And that's 100% right. If you say I have $300,000 and that's what I want to invest, then you can go ahead and start narrowing down brands that way. And, different investment levels range, like I mentioned, from, a couple $100,000 to there's some brands out there that cost over $1 million to build. So, that can help you narrow down your list very easily based on the level of investment you want to make. So I know one of the questions that will come up is just like financing. So I've talked about it can go anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million. So how do you pay for this? I actually was sharing some information about us franchising, and someone said, oh, I thought you had to have like all of that money in cash, and the answer is no. Of course, you can finance these deals. A lot of times, bankers are, I think, more apt to fund franchises because it is already a proven model. So you may find that it's easier to get I should say easier in quotes, but it may be easier to get funding for this because it is a franchise. So kind of some things to think about, or things that you need to consider when you're going for funding, is of course your credit is going to play a really big role in being able to get funding for your business. So that's something to consider. If you are far off from kind of where you need to be, then that's something that you can start working on now as you investigate brands. It's something that you could be working on as you get to that point. Something else is that every lender is going to ask for collateral. So you will need skin in the game. You will need some cash on the table. Typically, and I mean every lender is very different, but it could be anywhere from 10 to 25% of the total investment cost. So if you're looking at a $300,000 investment, they'll ask you to have anywhere from $30,000 on. So that's kind of what that's what you can expect from a cash standpoint. They'll also sometimes ask for personal assets to be pledged as guarantees. So specifically for us, our first store, we had to bootstrap it. We used credit cards, we put up houses, like we did whatever it took to get that first store open. And sometimes that's what it takes to make it happen. For us, that was our story. And since then, it's obviously funding has gotten easier, but our first store was a little bit difficult to get funding for. So that's just something to consider. Do you have property that you could potentially pledge in order for the lender to feel more comfortable with doing your deal? Another thing to think about is getting creative. So as I mentioned, we had to bootstrap our first deal. So don't take no. If you get a no from a lender, do not take that as the final answer, because it's not. There's several different creative things that you could do to still get the deal done. You can lease your equipment. You can tap into your 401k. That's a way that a lot of folks fund their deals. Think about stocks, bonds, anything of that nature. And then again, of course, personal real estate is an option as well. Or the biggest thing too is partnering. So I know for me specifically, I have two business partners, my mom and my sister, and that has made deals a lot more attainable as well by having two more business partners. So if you can't do a deal by yourself, do you have anybody like-minded in your circle or your family or your friends that you would be interested in partnering with? And maybe that can help you get your foot in the door for the first location. And then from there, you guys can branch off and do, whatever you want. But I would say definitely be creative and think outside the box in financing, because that's probably like the number one place I think where people give up. You hear no from one lender and you think that means no from everyone, and it doesn't. Understand that you have hundreds and hundreds of lenders out there, and there is always a way to make the deal happen. And we found that out on our first deal because we heard no from like 6 or 7 lenders, so we had to end up pulling it together on our own. But just like generally speaking, you can go a traditional financing route, which would be a commercial loan. SBA loans is an option, or you can go very non-traditional, which is what we did for our first store. You can look into like private loans. You can be your own lender, as I mentioned. So you can do a 401k loan, personal loans, lines of credit. There are just a million and one. I could go on and on. This could be a whole live just on how to finance your deal. But there are so many ways to, get the money that you need to make your deal happen. So I would say that, be encouraged if you don't have all of your money together, all your ducks in a row. There's ways to make it happen for sure. So I'm going to stop here because I want to get some engagement. And again, if you have any questions, there's the little question box down here. Ask me questions. Absolutely. I love sharing information on financing. And of course, my Instagram name also is tagged. If you all have specific questions about something that you're interested in and you want to reach out, off, our live, then definitely reach out. I'm always willing to, hop on a call with folks to share any information. Do you need to have an LLC or a trademark? Yes. So absolutely. You would need to one of the first steps would be setting up your LLC. Specifically, ours is Healthy Living Ventures. And as I mentioned, all of our businesses kind of fall under healthy living, healthy lifestyle. So that was one of our first steps, is that we set up our LLC. And then, of course, you can legally structure it however you want. As far as if every location has a different LLC, that's up to you. But definitely the first step would be setting up an LLC for sure. So what other questions do you all have? All right. No other questions? I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. So my business partner actually just joined. Hi, Lauren. Oh, got a question here. What was your revenue generated the first year? Very good question. Do you find service or product franchises to be best? Okay, good. Awesome. So revenue generated our very first year at our tropical smoothie was $780,000, I believe. I think that's the right number. And so since then we've grown. I think we are just under 1.1 million now with our first location. And that's just going to vary. The revenue that you're able to generate, of course, is going to vary by the brand. There's just so many things that will go into that. But we're very happy with how we performed with our first store, our first year, specifically because the average unit volume was, for the brand, was like 680. So we blew that out of the water for sure. So someone asked, do you find service or product franchises to be best? I think, again, that's going to depend as well. We are in both. So, with Hand and Stone, we're providing a service. With Tropical Smoothie, we're providing a product. And I think it's just different. Different business models. I don't know that one is better than the other. I think it's just going to depend on what you're looking for. Ooh, we got a lot of questions. Yay. Do you use a specific website to search for future deals? Not a specific website. I think I literally just get on Google and search, but I will say that different conferences has been helpful to find, future deals and to educate myself. So we are involved with, several different associations. We go to conferences, different things like that. I think that versus a specific website is probably like your best way to find a future deal. So they have even like an online expo, online franchising expo. Something like that was something that I would suggest doing, where they bring together hundreds and hundreds of brands, and you can, learn a little bit more about different brands. So I would definitely suggest doing something along those lines. And if you shoot me a DM, I will actually send you the link to that, because they do one like every month. But that's probably one of your best places. And then if you know a specific industry that you want to be in, let's say it's hotels or something along those lines, then I would say find an association, that you can get involved in, and then that might help you find future deals as well. So there's like so many questions coming in. Give me a second. Did you compare Tropical Smoothie to Smoothie King, and what helped you make the decision for Tropical Smoothie? Very good question, and yes, we did. We looked at Smoothie King, we looked at Robex, and really the thing that helped us make the decision was the revenue. And also with us being in Maryland, we didn't want to see like any type of dip during the winter months. And Tropical Smoothie has food versus where Smoothie King only has smoothies. So that kind of helped us make the decision there. It just opened up our revenue potential with food and smoothies versus just having smoothies. But we definitely did compare it. The other thing that helped us make the decision is that Smoothie King never got back to us. So that made the decision a little easier. Tropical Smoothie was very receptive. They reached back out immediately as soon as we, reached out to them. They set up a lunch with us. They talked to us for hours and hours and helped educate us about the brand. So that made it very easy to make a decision about wanting to be involved with them, as they were just so receptive. Someone said the revenue is not bad. Not at all. All right. Let me pin my Instagram really quickly so that you all have it. And as I mentioned, if you had any specific questions, let me know. You can reach out to me, shoot me a DM, and I will definitely answer those questions for you. Let's see what other questions we had come in. How long does it take to scale and make profit? So a lot of these questions, and I hate to keep saying well, it depends, but it really does depend. With Tropical Smoothie, and I'll speak to both brands that we're involved in, which is Hand and Stone and Tropical Smoothie Cafe. With Tropical Smoothie Cafe, the day you open your doors, we had a line and you're making money, immediately, the very first day. From our initial investment of our first store, we have never had to put any more cash into the business. So that's something to kind of, think about as well. Are you going to need working capital and different things like that? Now, on the flip side of that, Hand and Stone is more of a membership-based model where, you have to grow your membership base to kind of really see that profit and that revenue. So for there, that's going to take a little bit longer. Our break-even goal is within 10 months at Hand and Stone. So it's going to depend on the business model. As I mentioned, with Tropical Smoothie, day one, you're making money. And with Hand and Stone, day one, we made money as well. But it's more of a build, and because it's a membership base. So how long it takes to make profit is just going to depend also on the type of loans you got. All of those different type of things. How much did it cost? How much was your total investment? So those are some things to consider. Yes. Can you speak more on your service or course? Yes. So franchising is just such a big topic, and we kept getting all of these questions where do I get started? How do I find financing? Different things like that. And so we decided to make a course that walks you through A to Z, every single topic that we could think of that you would need in order to get into franchising. And really, we created this course so that we really created it because it's something that we needed when we were starting. And so we figured that other people would be interested in it. And you can find information on it. Again, it's actually linked on my Instagram page, but it's healthylivingventures.teachable.com. The link is in my bio. You're able to sign up for a free course, to take our first course for free. And then from there, you can sign up if you need additional mentorship. We have packages for that and everything. So that is that. How much do you take home net sales, and how much is given to the company who owns the... Okay. This is a great question. So how much do you take home? This is, again, I hate to keep saying this, but it really does depend on the business. But in restaurants, you can look at anywhere from 12 to 18% net profit. In something like Hand and Stone, it's much higher, closer to 30%. So it's going to just depend on what industry that you're in. And then how much do you give to the company? So what you're referring to is royalties. That you pay out to the brand that you're affiliated with, and that's also going to depend. With Tropical Smoothie, it's 10% specifically. So you can kind of start to do the math there. Typically, your labor is in the low 20s. Your cost of goods with Tropical Smoothie as well is in the 20s. So that, I hope, answers your question. How can one start to own their own franchise? So I personally don't mentor on how you can start your own franchise. So this question, I probably wouldn't be able to answer properly. Mathematically speaking, both areas need to be done. Okay. Is there a website? or email to sign up for the course. Yes, so as I mentioned, it's Healthy Living Ventures with an S .teachable.com, and the link is also on my Instagram as well in the bio. And I will comment it as well. Let's see what other questions we had. How much ownership do you have with this route? So with franchising, you own the business 100%. What you're essentially doing is you're leasing the rights or, to use that brand's logo and their business model. So you do own the business 100%. And then for that, you just pay a franchise fee in the beginning, which can range anywhere from $5,000 to, I've seen some that are like $40,000. And then you would pay royalties on every single sale that you make. All right. Ooh, lots of questions. Is training and marketing always included in the fees for most brands? Yes. So that's essentially your franchise fee is covering the support that you'll get when you're opening, the training. It doesn't cover marketing. So that's a good question. It's more so of the support in getting you started and getting your doors open. A lot of brands will have like a real estate team that helps you pick the right location, different things like that. So that's what you're paying for essentially in that franchise fee. Marketing is a separate royalty that you will pay. So typically with Tropical Smoothie, it's 1% additional on top of the royalty that we pay for marketing. This is funny. Do friends and family automatically think you're rich once you become a franchise owner? We've definitely gotten those comments, and I will say that is not the truth. I think the true financial freedom and true wealth generation with franchising happens when you can get into multi-unit ownership. And I think that's when you really start to see your money really work for you. As I mentioned, you can do the math. If I said that our first store is at a little under 1.1 million, and in the food industry you make 12 to 17%. I mean, that you're not riding off in the sunset with one store, but as you start to multiply it over 4 and 5 and 6 stores, you build your revenue to be higher. That's when I think you can really see the benefits of franchising. So for me, I actually personally say I probably wouldn't get into it if you plan on just doing like one store, unless you're just trying to kind of replace your 9-to-5 or something along those lines. But for us specifically, we really wanted to use franchising as a way to build generational wealth. And so in order to do that, you definitely need to scale with a lot more, more than one location. So that's a great question. How has the pandemic changed how you will consider future deals? Also a really great question. Initially, when we started in looking for the right brand, we automatically said that we wanted a brand that was semi-recession proof, as recession proof as possible. Which I don't think any business is truly recession proof. But we did say that we wanted, something that was semi-recession proof and could not be disrupted by technology. So those were the two factors that we were evaluating all of the brands with. And I think the pandemic kind of has added another factor to that. What if, I guess for us, like things that can't be shut down. So luckily, we were not shut down during the pandemic with Tropical Smoothie Cafe, which was a blessing. We were able to keep all of our employees employed, no layoffs, different things like that. So I think that has definitely played a role in it. We're definitely thinking about like business models that could be a pandemic proof, or so I guess quote unquote, or also cannot be disrupted by technology and, semi-recession proof. So where we like to live, the space that we like to live in is like affordable luxury, essentially. So that's what Hand and Stone is. You can get a membership there, $69.95. And in a pandemic, if people are tight on cash or if it's a recession, you would choose a Hand and Stone before you went to the spa at like the Ritz or something like that. Same with Tropical Smoothie. It's affordable, healthy food options. So that's kind of where we live. That's been our business model. And then earlier in the live, I mentioned that we're also franchisees with Choice Hotels, and we're in the process of developing our first hotel. And when we do that, we'll also live right at that affordable economy rate. And that's kind of been our business model so far. So I had some more questions. I had one come in. All right. Tons of comments. Oh, good. Someone said they're in the process right now of buying a franchise and this helped. I'm happy. Perfect. Any other questions? And as I mentioned, my Instagram is open. My DMs are open. You know, ask me any questions that you have. I would love to answer them. If you kind of missed the live and you have some questions, let me know. I'm always willing to set up mentor calls, quick calls. If you want full mentoring, we do offer that on our website. But if you wanted a quick call, I am willing to do that as well. Another question that came in is this session going to be replayed? And if so, how can we rewatch it? Yes, it'll be posted on the page afterwards. So definitely you'll be able to rewatch it there. So awesome. I think I have covered all of the questions. Again, just wanted to let you all know how you can reach me. It's on my Instagram, Chantel.Grant. Again, the information for the course, if you're interested in taking it, or if you had questions regarding mentorship, it is at healthylivingventures.teachable.com is where you can find more information, or you can just DM me and we can chat about it. Thank you all so much for your time, and I really enjoyed connecting with you all.